Hi guys, Squall here. Welcome to another episode of Derail Valley on the realistic playthrough. If you've not checked out the previous videos, then please feel free to check those out so that you understand where we are. Just to remind you where we are down here. We're down here at the Forest South. We just arrived here with our two DE2s, and I thought about clearing my licenses out, etc., but I thought, no, I want to wait to get a DH4. Having looked at the jobs and where they go from Forest South, it's not particularly interesting. A lot of them will go to the sawmill, obviously, because this is a forest, and the rest of them tend to be logistic hauls over to City West or Steel Mill, just kind of moving the cars back. So nothing really for us. So what I'd actually thought I'd do is jump in the locomotive while it's night time and drive round to City South. I want to get down to the harbour, so I'm hoping I can pick something up at City South. But I want to get down to the harbour and get hold of a DH4 and go from there. So, I'm going to jump in the locomotive and I will see you down at City South. Well, here we are. I'm just arriving in City South. It took a little while. In fact, night time is almost over. We're just heading through the platforms. I'm going to park up over here and then we'll probably sleep through the night and see if we can get a job down to the harbour. Righty, right, we've slept. It's now 6 AM. The sun is coming up. What's the weather forecast? Not too bad. It is going to rain this afternoon though at 3 till 6. Other than that, not too bad at all. In terms of the jobs, not fantastic, but not terrible. We basically got a shunting job that we could do for 24 grand. That's a long one, fragile one. So that would be some good pocket money. Just unloading that to two places. Pretty simple job. Unload and store train with eggs. I can do that. This one only pays 5k. And then there's one down here, which goes down to the harbour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up and take this job here. And then we'll hand that in, come back, and we'll take that and drive down to the harbour. Before I do that, though, I do want to run down here because there's the museum, by the way, and down here, you see that shed there? I believe we bought the key for that, didn't we? I thought we bought the key for that. 1 second. Let me run back to the little shed here. If we did buy the key, it would be here. There it is. That one. I think this key... Olaf's garage key. I believe that's Olaf's garage down there. Here's the bits and pieces that we did actually buy. But yeah, let's run down there and open this up. Right, here's the key. There's a little D2 here. Right, this should. Olaf's garage. There you go. Now then, what's inside here? So if we click that, once you've used the key, it's gone. You can't buy it again. And this is now permanently unlocked. This thing is a interesting piece of kit. Basically, this is it carries things. It's a utility rail vehicle, as it says on the front there, on the label. And what happens is, in the back here, goes parts for the vehicles that we rescue. It's definitely an interesting vehicle to drive. I'm not going to drive it today because we don't need to. We'll drive it for the first time when we actually use it. It's fun, but... I tend not to drive it. I tend to drag it around is how I tend to use it. But we'll drive it out of there when we do begin to use it. So what that is if we find a vehicle that we want to restore around the map, we basically have to bring it over to the museum here. What will then happen is we take it inside and it'll say you need to buy some parts for it to get it fixed up. Those parts we then buy, and we need to put the parts on the back of that. There is another vehicle we can put parts on as well. And then we bring them back to here, and in that workshop we basically fit them. So we can't actually go inside the museum fully yet. We can get up to like here somewhere. I think it stops us going in. There you go. So we don't have the museum license. So we'd need to buy the museum license. Then we'd basically bring the vehicle to here, and then we take it into that yard there, and we fix it all up. It's quite expensive, and it's something we will do, but not today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do this job here, which I believe is these here. Yes, CSSU54. I'm going to quickly do these, get them unloaded and dropped off, and then I can get a bit of extra cash, and then we're going to head down to the harbour. It's a bit of a weird unloading point at City South because the unload is right outside the station. And it's this little siding here, which is right next to the platform, the station passenger platform. So it's a little bit odd. But anyway, this is where you have to reverse it in. So I'll just quickly hand this job in. And then we'll run round here. And then we unload it. No, it's the other way. Unload, please. Thank you very much. Of course, all those eggs are being teleported inside the warehouse. And then I've basically got to haul these out now. Where am I going? So 396 is on the back there. And on the back, that needs to go to A3. From A3L to... not here. That needs to go to B4S. That one car has to go to B4S. And then everything else has to go back into the C yard. Hilarious. Right, I'll get on with it, and then we'll pick it up. Okay, I have done that. Let's hand this in. We should be done, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so that's 37,000 for not a lot of work. So what I'm going to do now is grab hold of... let me have a quick look here. Food factory... there's actually two... yeah, interesting. That car we just dropped off also wants to go down to the harbour as well as these. But I think I'm just going to take these. I can't be bothered to go and grab that one as well because it'll mean dropping it off down at C1S and this goes to E8I. And it doesn't pay enough for me to be bothered with that. So we're going to quickly put that in and I'll grab hold of these 4 green cars and we're going to head on down to the harbour. And here we are. It's later in the morning. We've got the 4 cars in the back and we're bringing it into the harbour. Not before time as well because look at the fuel level there. I've almost run this thing completely dry, which is fine because we should be able to grab hold of a DH4, hopefully. Just got to drop this off into 8i, which is there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull into here, disconnect, and then I'll go and hand the job in. And then I'm going to drive these 2 locomotives forward, reverse them back down that centre line, and stick them over there somewhere. See what that DE2 is there? I'm going to stick them by that DE2. And then we should be good to clear the fees on it, upgrade our licenses, and hopefully drive a DH4. Right, I handed the job in. I got $7,400. Not a lot, but you know, it pays the bills to get down here, and if we're coming down here anyway, then it's worth doing in my opinion. That will do just there. Let me stop that, put the handbrake on, and we'll knock the lights off. There we go. So yeah, absolute crazy fuel level, look. Couldn't have timed that better. What that means is we've basically used those machines more or less to their limit. Certainly in terms of fuel. Remember, we don't have the maintenance license, so we can't just pull up over there in the yard and start servicing that vehicle. It's something to get this time, though, because once we start getting into the DH4 and other licenses, our copay really starts to go up to the point where it's actually worth doing. But if you have a look at our fees now, you can see we're already on, what, 26,000 easily. Easily 26,000. And even if we serviced all that, we'd still be on at least 13. So I'm going to clear those down now. Let me have to confirm it first. Insert wallet, deposited 3,600 for that one. And then confirm. Do you have manual service? You could save money. I don't have manual... Why are you asking me if I have manual service, game? You know I have manual service. I don't have manual. You know this. There we go. 9,000 to clear. He literally knows what licenses I have. There you go. It's a strange question. It should actually say a different way, shouldn't it? By the way, if you manually service this, then you can get it for half price. Not, do you have it? Anyway, so weather forecast for today was rain at 3 o'clock. That's something to bear in mind. What we need to do now, it's coming up for 11. We're going to go through those jobs. First of all, I'm going to run over to the station yard and see what trains are actually available. So let's do that. I keep meaning to look around this yard. We've already found this, the DM3 museum, sorry, the DE2 museum version. which would be nice to have, but not as good as the DH4. There is the DH4. That's one of them. And interestingly enough, there's another one. We could actually use 2. We could, in theory, use 2. However, the DH4 is pretty good at pulling things, so we'd have to have a fairly big job to warrant taking 2 DH4s. We'd have to take a lot of weight. Looking at this thing, the load rating up here, 2,000 tons on the flat, 600 tons at 2%, 500 tons at 2% in the wet. Do not believe that number. That is a complete lie. In the wet in this game doesn't work like this. It's not. Nah, I don't buy that at all. So really, what we're saying is, you know, if we start getting a much above 600 tons, then we could put a DH4 on there. Now you can run a DE2 with a DH4. It will work. There's a blue cable on both of them. And it is a nice thing to have. If you just need a little bit more oomph, you can take a DE2 with you. But, you know, you need to think about this. How much money do we have? We have almost 500,000. Let's get some licenses first of all. If we go down here, right, so straight off the bat, we're going to want the DH4. And if we have a look at the DH4, it's going to put our copay up 10 grand. We're already on 13 at least, so that's going to make a huge difference. It brings our time bonus deadline down 2%. We have to have long 2 license to be able to get this, so that's something to bear in mind because we currently don't have long 2. Now, long 2, if you have a look at this, is going to put another 10 grand on our license, and it's going to reduce the deadline bonus by 4%. I'm not really bothered about the deadline bonus. 4% is not huge, but 20 grand on the copay is big. Now, what we can do to mitigate that is get the manual service. Now, the manual service, if we have a look at this, the manual service will put our copay up another 7 grand. So that's 27,000 on top. But we are then able to take locomotives to the service yard and service them at half the price. We'll still have to pay emissions tax, or squirrel tax as I call it. We'll still have to pay that, but it's not huge. The other thing is the museum. We don't need the museum license yet. We don't need it. But you know what? If we had it, it's going to increase our time bonus deadline by 5%, which is going to mitigate that 4%. It also means if we happen to be going to City South, for example, that D2 that we saw over there, that museum piece, we could re-rail it and drag it in the direction of the museum and just put it there. We don't need to do anything with it yet. And also, when we're out and about, if we do see a locomotive like a DH4, the museum DH4, that we have a license for, we can re-rail it and bring it with us. So this is what I'm going to get. The only question is, do we want any other licenses? Like, do we want to get Concurrent Orders 2, for example? Concurrent Orders 2 would allow us to take any number of jobs at the same time. This is pretty significant, but it does bring our time bonus down 5%, which thoroughly, you know, unmitigate? I don't know what word I'm looking for. The museum. It kind of depends what jobs we've got. What I'm going to do is grab these first, right? So we'll stick these in. Sorry, can't do it this way, can we? We have to do it this way. So we'll stick them in this way. We'll go train lane 2, which we have to have that. That's going to get us that one. Then we're going to get the DH4. That's another 50 grand. Then we're going to get the museum. You first need to have manual service. Okay. Well, then we're going to get manual service. Then we're going to get museum. Okay, vehicle restoration. Press E to continue. Yeah, we know that. So that's brought us down about 100 grand. But that was well worth having. We don't want to get into hazmat yet. We don't want to get into military yet. We're going to leave those for now. The D6 is something that will more or less require us to have concurrent 2, just because that thing can really haul. So for now, that's all I want to get. I may get concurrent 2 if we see something worth using for. But at the moment, with concurrent 1, we can still take... Let me just put these out of the way. With concurrent 1, we can... very much. With concurrent 1, we can still allow you to do 2 orders at the same time. So if we can take 2 heavy jobs then, you know, we're okay with concurrent 1. The moment we want to do 3, that's when we need that one. But for now, let's wade through these jobs and see if there's anything that we can haul with that DH4. Right, so I've prepared the jobs. These are all hazmat jobs, etc. We can't do them. We don't have the licenses. These are what I call meh jobs. Not really something I want to do. I mean, you know, unloading jobs or just not very well paying freight jobs. So then I was thinking, well, maybe we could do like one of these. Coal Mine East, 27 grand. That's not too bad. Forestry Trails for 30 grand. Maybe we can get something on the way. Iron Mine West, 2 of these. 75k plus bonus. Pretty good bet. That's well within the capabilities of a DH4. 240 tons and 128 tons. And then I looked at this one and I was like, oh, 600 tons plus 300 tons. 2 DH4s to the sawmill. Now that could be a lot of fun. We have a long 2 license now, so we can do that. Not bad. And then I saw up here some shunting jobs, and then this one caught my eye. This one here, this is nuts. This is $67,000 to take 1,140 tons of steel, but bear in mind this is just a shunting job, so it's around the harbour on perfectly flat terrain. Yes, it's heavy, but for a DH4, it could move that easily, I think. So I'm going to do that. So in this episode, we're not going to actually travel somewhere, if you like, and make a proper delivery. We're going to do this, which is a shunting job, but it will get to use the DH4. It'll pay a lot of money. It'll pay for all those licenses we just bought. And at the end of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade our DH4 and fit that equipment. Remember the equipment we bought? We're going to put that in our DH4. Now, we don't own the DH4. As I explained before, if we don't drive it, the game will despawn it, and anything that we fit inside will land back in our shed. But I'm going to drive this DH4 for a little while. I may hook it up to another DH4, but having the one up front with the equipment in it will make our life a little bit easier. So that will be good for the future. So we're going to do this shunting job to get the money back, and then we're going to fit our equipment. So in the next video, we can basically haul properly with a DH4 with some cool equipment. Capiche? Good. Right. Let's go and find our DH4. So we've got 2 over here, I think. And we just need to decide which one we're going to drive. So maybe we'll do it on the basis of a cool number or something. So let's have a look at this number. This is 83. And this one over here is 88. 88. 2 fat ladies in bingo. Don't know if you ever played bingo. My mother used to play bingo. And 88 used to be called 2 fat ladies, but they don't say that now because it might offend them. So I don't know what they say anymore. Let me just put that in the way. There we go. Click. Right, let's get this thing on the tracks. If you can get inside the cab. Now, the DH4, I don't know if you've seen it before. Maybe not in this series because we've only just got the license. There's the handbrake. There's the breakers. Put both breakers on, starter and the electrics. Then we've got this starter down here. And then we've got the brake cutout, which is down here. So faces ground if you want it on. Now, where's the... okay, so the main reservoir here is completely empty. So don't be tempted to drive the locomotive until the main reservoir's got some air in it. Otherwise, you'll find you've got no brakes. I have found that out the hard way in the past. Strictly speaking, we can have the handbrake on until we're ready to move. But we're on the flat, so it's fine. So front lights, rear lights stay running. Cab light position 1 turns these lights on. Position 2 puts the internal cab light on. We shouldn't need that at the moment. Remember, it is going to rain from 3 o'clock, but if we're just shunting around the yard today, it won't matter so much. So we'll just wait for that reservoir to get up to pressure, and then we should be ready to go. So what I'll do is pair the loco so that we can drive this thing, and we'll just test it by operating the reverser with the remote. There we go. If I just jump outside, there you go. See, it switches the lights, so we know that we're definitely connected. Like I said before, just have a blue cable, which means it could hook up to another DH4, or you can hook it up to a DE2. You can operate a DE2 with a DH4. However, the DE2 is not as capable as DH4, so it will tend to sort of overheat and not give its best, and in some respects it can hold back the DH4. There are ways around that with some equipment that you can fit, which will stop it from holding back the DH4. But running to a DH4 is an expensive way of driving around, but also a very capable way of driving around. So let's start moving this thing forward. We'll just check our brakes. So we'll move forward a little bit, and then we'll apply the brakes. Okay, brakes appear to be working. If the brakes weren't working, you could quickly jump in and slam on the handbrake, so it's worth just doing a quick check to make sure that you've got the air pressure you need. There we go. Okay, as long as our wheels are clear of that, that's all we need. And then we're just basically... Oh, in case you're wondering, you can... Obviously, you can push on this lever here, and you can also operate with this thing here. But if you map your shortcut keys, as I have done with page up and page down, you can actually just use those keys, and it makes things just a little bit easier and quicker, because you can actually look at the turntable at the same time as operate it. Okay, so we know we're going to go to C2I. I'll probably... Oh, we're here right now, so we're going to come out of here, out of this service centre here to there, and then we'll reverse back into C. So we'll go right at C. And then we want to go to 2I, which means a right and a left into 2... Sorry, no, we're coming from this way. A right, then a left will put us into 2I. So you've got to think about it in this game. They don't make it easy for you. When you look at these things, the orientation is key. You either look at the compass or you can look at where the bumpers are. That will give you the clue. Right, let's stop there. Of course, we'll need to flick this one back. Let's go and hook up. Okay, there's C2I. That's the cars we're looking for. We'll jump out now. That's where we're going to be unloading, C3I. This is always where we unload. Wait, what? D7L? Interesting, hang on. Oh, yeah, because it's not a liquid. That's why. That's the liquid unload here. Because it puts it in those giant storage bays. When you're doing solids, you go to D yard. I really hope this handbrake's not the one at the back. Okay, get the chain on. Get that on. Let the airflow. And it's the one at the back, of course it is. Right, you're going to run all the way down here. And this is the problem with realistic mode, is you can't run very quickly. You can't sprint very far. And the coupler, if you're on lesser difficulty modes, the coupler will actually operate the handbrakes as well when you use the remote here. So when you hook up to something, you just press the couple button there, and it does this all for you. But on realistic mode, yeah, you've got to do this. Do it yourself. Not to worry. Right, we'll remove the brakes. And we know there's a lot of weight here, so just need to give the DH4 time. And in terms of where we're going, we know that we can go to D7L. We don't need to hand the job in just yet, but we are going to the D yard. So we're going to pull forward, and then we're going to basically reverse back, go right this way, right into D. And then we want 7L, which is this one. So it's left. Sorry, left. It's right, right again into 7L. Okay, we are starting to move. It is beyond its kind of normal rated weight. The rated weight for this thing is, well, it's 2,000 tons on the flat, so in theory it's not beyond its rated weight. But it will have a tendency to wheel slip if you try and put too much throttle in. But yeah, lot of weight here. There's the unloading point on the right. let's just get off here. We don't need to have it all the way in. This should be plenty, so we'll just put the brakes on there, I think. Now let's just have a look at where we're going next. So I have to hand this job in before we can actually unload this, so I'll go and do that now. Now I handed the job in, we do actually have all the car numbers visible now, so we can start making sense of this. So 840, according to this, is on the back, which means 347 must be down at that end. 347, if it's at the bottom end, requires G1S, and then the next lot requires D5S, and then this lot requires G6, which has got 840 on it, yeah. So basically these first 4 cars here are going to go to G yard, and the last 10 down the bottom are going to G yard, and the bit in the middle is going to go to D yard. So it's a little bit awkward. But hey, if somebody was paying me nearly $100,000 to do this, and it was a little bit awkward, I'd take that on the chin. Okay, so let's unload this. That's going to be an awful lot lighter now. So first drop, 347 to 072. Let's find them. 347 to 072. And it's 10 cars, which means it's going to be this way. What's that? 175. 175 is that. That's the... Okay. 215, then be 171, then 072, which is this car here. So 072 down to the bottom there. This is going to stay with us. This wants to go to G1S. Let's start pulling forward. And we'll have a look at G1S. Now we're currently in the D yard and G's only here, so we can pull forward to here. And we can basically align up G1S. Now depending on how annoying the game's going to feel, there may be something already on G1S. But in any event, we're coming in from the west, so we want to go left, left, left. There's probably going to be things here, and we'll have to push them along the way. You can, from the shop, buy little flags, and they can be extremely useful. And I think next time we go to a shop, I might get some flags. Because what you can do is you can put a flag here now, so that, you know, if we have to jump away and start taking the parking brake off cars on G1S so that we can push them out the way, etc., you then have to start counting the cars back again. With a flag, it just makes it a lot easier. The only downside is you can forget your flag. Happy days. G1S is completely empty. Oh, ho, ho, ho. That does not happen very often. So all I've got to do now is get past this here and we can start reversing. Right, just get this car beyond this marker here and we should be good right there. Get the old handbrake on. Alright, let's get it moving forward. So the next one is going to D5S. Now the D yard at the harbour. Coming out of G, we go back in there. We just came out of D, so D5S. This time we want to go right. Sorry, this time we want to go left. As we're coming down, we're going to go left, and then we're going to go right and right again into 5S. I think there will be stuff on this one, but we're dropping off, what's that, 6 cars this time. So we'll have a look, because we should be able to get viz on it here as we come out. The left down that way. I think there is something on there. I'll stay at the back here, and then we'll count the cars. Either way, we're dropping G, D, G, and then we're getting paid 100 grand. It's absolute monstrous job. Sometimes the job engine can be weird like that. It can generate jobs that pays a lot of money for not a lot of work, and other times you look at a job and you think, why is that only paying 6 grand, or why is that only 12 grand? Like, it's a lot of work, you know? It's kind of odd, but you just roll with it. It is, you know, a procedure in the code terms. It does its thing, and sometimes you win. Okay, yeah, there are cars on 5S, and we're going to be dropping off another 6. I don't think they'll fit into that space there. We may have to push these back. I tell you what, the weather in the valley right now is superb, but there is rain forecast. At some point this weather's going to start changing. Yeah, I think we have to shove this back. I don't think 6 cars is going to work. Let's see. It might do, actually. Let's stop it there. What's that going to be? Number 708 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, crikey, it's close. 525. It just about fits. Look at that. We're certainly winning today, that's for sure. Okay then, final drop. Final drop is into G6S, and it's the last 4 cars. So back into G yard is going to be 6S is here, so right, 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 left, right, 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 left, G6. And so it's a lot lighter now. You can see the speed this DH4 has. It's just crazy. Right, we've got 4 cars to squeeze in here. There's no way they're going to fit in here, so we are going to have to push this lot back. Now, is this handbrake on? Yeah. Okay, so we'll let it nudge that. There may well be more than one consist here, though, so there may be more than one handbrake on. You can't just assume that there you go. You can't just assume they're connected, see? That one's not connected. The thing is about these storage lines is they can have multiple connected cars on there. And, yeah, you start pushing the back and you assume you've taken the handbrake off the whole lot, and you've not. Then you hear the squeaking. So we'll let this push back a little bit. It's kind of difficult to tell if we're far enough back, so... see if we can get up here. It's the problem when you're unrealistic is you can't climb things like you can when you're not. There you go. No, I had it then. There we go. Yeah, that's not far enough back. Bit further. Okay, I reckon that's enough, so I'm going to put the handbrake on that one now. And the handbrake on this one, and that'll just start to slow these cars down. Lovely. And then we'll put the handbrake on the front one, which is the actual job that we're dropping off. That's it. We are done with that job. So what I'm going to do now is going to pull up over at the station, hand this job in, and then I'm going to start fitting some bits and pieces to this DH4. And this is where the game really starts to get fun. Like when they brought this whole accessorizing thing in to Derail Valley, it completely changed the game. And suddenly there was this concept of personalizing a locomotive, because let's face it, you're given some pieces, and like Lego, you can set them up how you want. You can put parts wherever you want, whatever parts you want in here, and it's entirely up to you. And it really does make the whole thing a lot more interesting. So, whoops. Let's put the sander on. And the sander off. Hotkeys for the win. We'll put the handbrake on that. We shall hit the fuel cutoff. And we'll go and hand this thing in. Now, we were started on 488, I think it was. And then we spent a lot of money on jobs. On licenses, sorry. And now we've just turned over 6 figures. If only it was that easy in real life, eh? 6 figures. So now we're back on 483. Which means all those licenses we've got, we've more or less paid for. Incidentally, if you look at the fees, shunting that around for a 100 grand job cost us 3,300. And if we get it serviced in the yard, which we can now, half of that. Absolutely amazing. Right then, let's just have a look at my inventory, because what we're going to do now is we're going to accessorize our train. Now, having looked at our little equipment here, and I've just chucked all that over there out of the way. Every time you buy a license, it throws it in the shed in a random place. Yeah, there's a few things we don't have. So I don't have the soldering gun. I've got solder, but I don't have the soldering gun, so I can't actually wire anything together. I do have this, and given also we've got some more money, I think we should just go and buy... I need to go and buy a soldering gun anyway, so I think I might go and have a look and see what else we can buy. We're going to go up to the goods factory to do that. The goods factory has more stuff available, as you'll see. The flags we can get from City West, but we're at the harbour, so we'll just go up to the goods factory. It's going to cost us, what's that, 1,127. The downside is that because we're leaving the harbour, when we come back, all the jobs will be completely reset, so... the jobs that I showed you earlier we're not going to be able to do. But the good thing is that once you rearrange your stuff, it does actually stay rearranged. Just be careful with these buttons here. This one is used to retrieve items that you've lost, things that you may have left behind somewhere. This one, if you press this, it'll rearrange everything, so just don't press it. Right, the shop is down here, neatly hidden behind that little Volkswagen Beetle in the distance. Now every place tends to sell different things. Some things are sold in all shops, and some things are only sold in certain shops. The goods factory, is the one where you can get things like the soldering iron, which we need. So we'll grab that, and the soldering iron. Right, the filler gun is like the opposite of the drill. Do you sell the drill? Yeah, sell the drill here. So when you're mounting things, you can either drill them in, or you can tape them on. You know, it doesn't matter which, necessarily. Drilling them will permanently mount them. If you have a big shunt, they won't fall off. If you use duct tape, which we'll get a few more of these anyway, get 4. If you use duct tape, if you have a hard kind of shunt, things can fall off because it's just put on with duct tape. So what I'll do is I'll buy the electric drill. I'm going to buy myself a flashlight as well. And then I'm going to buy the filler gun so we can fix holes if we need to. Don't strictly speaking need that, but it doesn't cost very much. A digital speedo is a lovely thing. So we're going to get one of those as well. We'll get some medium mounting plates to give us some options. I'll get 5 of them. I'm going to get a little bit more solder. We've got the hammer already. The rotary controller, that's basically an on-off rotary controller. Not going to need that, I don't think. I don't need to switch things. We could put lights on our train, on our locomotive, but I don't think I will just yet. What else do we want? An infrared thermometer will show you brake temp. Not terribly useful in my opinion. A button controller is like the other controller, except you just press it, but it is like an on-off type thing. And an analog controller is very useful. So we'll buy a couple of them for later. And I'll buy a couple of those. I want to give myself options. A crimping tool we're going to need. That's used for wiring gadgets together. So if you want to wire a switch to something, we need crimping tool, but you'll need one of them. A large mounting plate, we'll have one of them. That's an alternating controller, so that's used for beacons and stuff. Not going to get that. Going to get some small mounting strips. A couple of those. A couple of them, just to get the options. A brake cylinder LED bar is fantastically useful. So we'll have that. We'll also have a couple of those brackets. Sticky tape I'm not going to need. A white bar I'm not going to use. Digital clock is not terribly useful. Soldering gun is what we came for. And a blue light bar, not something we're interested in today. And that should be more or less it, I think. I'll buy a couple more of them now. Anything else I need? One of them, rotary. I'll get a couple of rotaries, I'll probably use them. Lighter. Oh, right. Okay. Some of them. Right, that's going to cost a few quid. 42,000, right? That's quite a lot of money. This is what happens when you start customizing stuff. So it throws it all over the desk, but, you know, we don't really care. We're going to teleport back to the harbour. Of course, time is advancing, so we may find ourselves in the rain in a second. But it doesn't matter. We can fit our stuff. Oh, look, it's raining. We can fit our stuff in the rain. Wow, it's nearly 7 o'clock. Look at that. So yeah, all these jobs have now completely reset. If we go into our shed, you'll find that it's just neatly thrown everything everywhere. What are we going to use today? Let's put our power tools over here. Drill, soldering gun, filler, and crimping tool. The little flashlight we will have, but we'll just put it in our backpack for now. What are we going to need? We're going to want to mount various pieces of equipment. So this is going to get mounted. We're going to need this as well. And if I can find my brake, my little brake lever thingy. Got it there? There it is. We're going to mount that. So that's going to be our speedometer. That's going to be our brake level, which is like a visual how much brake you're putting on. This is a switch setter, which I'll explain when we use it in the next video. And then really it's about, well, what brackets are you going to need to mount these things on with? Like, little ones like that are pretty good for these kind of things. We should have another one of those somewhere. There you go. So that would work for that. You could even use a slightly bigger one if you wanted to. This is going to require probably, depending on the orientation you want it, you could put it on the wall like that with a medium bracket. It might require a large. It might require one of them. I can't remember. But you won't know until you try and mount it. And then you've got to figure out where you want it. So, bit of a process to this, really. Don't think we need that. And then we've got all the switches. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use any switches for these because what I'm going to do is permanently wire them to the electrics. So, what you basically do is you mount them where you want them, and then you wire them in to the fuse box. And you do that with the soldering gun and the crimping tool is used if you want to put a switch in. So if you just want to wire it to the fuse box, you use the soldering gun and it just wires straight in. If you want to put it via a switch, then you'll need the crimping tool and a switch. For example, you can have that, and then when you press it, it would activate everything that's fed off that switch, if that makes sense. The drill is when you want to physically mount things, permanently mount things, and then the filler is used to fill the holes if you don't want the holes there anymore, if you want to move something later. Or you can use the duct tape instead of the drill, as I say, to just mount things. It's up to you. Right, let's get in the locomotive and figure out how we want to do this. First thing I'm going to do is put the internal cab light on and we can see what we're doing. So really, you want to be thinking to yourself, if I was in my seated position, which might be like here, where do I want to put stuff? Well, straight away, I'm thinking for the switch setter, I'm probably thinking it'll be there somewhere. It needs to be like in your eye, but kind of out the way. So somewhere here might be good for that. In terms of these things, these are quite small items, these two. So for these two, you're going to be thinking, I want them clearly visible. You could have them down here, or you could have them up here. Doesn't really matter. You can also put one on top of this unit here. Maybe you can have like the speedometer like on there would be good, because you've already got your speedo here. So it kind of makes sense to have your digital speedo on top, if we can make that happen. And then for the actual, if I can find it, the brake setting, maybe you could have it like on a vertical setting if you can. Maybe you want it in eyesight, so you could possibly over here, or just up there somewhere visible, so you can just quickly see what the level's on. So let's try that. Let's see if we can basically get this thing mounted on there. Sorry about the sound at the moment. I can't do much about the weather. Well, I could sleep, I suppose. So what you can do is you can say, get on top of here, and then try and line that up. And this is where the game doesn't help you. You're trying to want to get it center in the middle, because, you know, you're a little bit OCD. And you can't, because you can't subtly move left and right. So maybe like that. And if you had it like that, the game will start to show you, if your mouse wheel, it'll start to show you the orientations. Now, straight away, the problem with that bracket is I can't pitch it so I can see it. So that bracket is not going to work for what we want. So what other brackets have we got? We've got this kind of bracket. It's a little bit bigger. Where is it? This bracket here. Well, it'll let us have something facing towards us. So maybe this is the right bracket. And there is a certain amount of trial and error in all of this. So maybe something like that, and then you put it like that. So that would work. Yeah, that would work quite nicely. So what we can do, we can basically like gaffer tape that in. Just tape it in there, or we can physically drill it in. So let's use gaffer tape for now. It's now stuck, or duct tape as they call it. And this is where it gets tricky. This thing, you need to get the right way up. Which is the right way up? Yes. It's kind of awkward to get it how you want it. I think that's right, but sometimes you'll just get it wrong. So let's bring out the soldering iron and we'll wire that in. You'll see what it actually looks like. So I'm going to put my solder on the ground. And yes, you do need to use one roll of solder to wire one item in. It's absolutely nuts. But if I do that now here's a little tip for you. If the gun is the right way up, then your item is the right way up. If he holds your gun upside down, you've got the whole thing on upside down. So you basically carry on and solder it in. And there you go. You then click, and that ejects the piece. And then just like a good little litter bug, you throw it out the window. There you go. It's now wired in. It's permanently wired in. So if we turn the breakers off, that goes off. If we turn the electrics back on, you see it comes on. And that's it. That's how it works. If you wanted to wire a switch in the way, then you would use the crimping tool and a switch so you could operate it. But for me, that is absolutely fine. I'll just use gaffer tape because this is not my locomotive and I don't tend to slam into things. So the next question is, where can we put this? Well, we could try using that little bracket that we had before. We'll see if we can get a nice orientation out of it. It doesn't look like it's going to play ball with us. I think that's going to look a little bit naff. Even if I have it vertically, which it's not going to let me do. It's trying to mount it. There you go. We could have it like that. It doesn't look amazing in my opinion. Maybe over here would be better. If we sat down, we'd see it quite easily. Maybe that's more to my taste. You know, you can have it going horizontal as well. We could stick it on here, have it going left to right. It's not a problem. Don't know if I have enough brackets for it, but I'm kind of okay with it being up there. And because I'm just using duct tape, I can change my mind. And that's the other thing is if you're not sure about something, just use duct tape because you can easily remove it later. So now I need another roll of solder. Load that in and hold that down. That should be now wired in. If I operate the brakes now, you can see as I move the brake lever, it's basically showing the brake lever indicator, but in a nice visual way. Because you notice, like, you're sort of driving along like this, using a hotkey, you're operating the brake lever, and you think, what setting am I on? This is a great way of getting like 1 or 2 or 3 bars of braking, and it seriously helps. So the next thing is this one. I think we'll get this, and we'll see if we can use that to mount up here. I don't know if this will take a small bracket. It will actually take a small bracket, okay. So this, I'd kind of like to get... I don't care if it blocks this handle or whatever it is. Let's try that. Yeah, so we're sat here and that's there. Maybe a touch higher. if we can get away with it. Yeah, I'm alright with that. Let's go with that. Gaffer tape that in. And then, yep, you know what's next. So I have to eject that one first. And then carefully dispose of it. Load that one in. Hey. Okay. Now, what's the switch setter, you're probably saying? The switch setter is a cool piece of equipment that basically I'm going to put the distance. I'm going to spin that first, which is going to put it on maximum distance. I'm going to leave them on default for now. But basically, you see that switch there? It's basically showing us the position of it. Effectively, what that's saying is the next switch in the direction you're traveling, which is forward, is going to the right. And if you press that button, guess what it does? So it literally indicates and switches the next switch in the direction that you're heading. Now, the direction you're heading, the orientation can be changed. Effectively, auto, it will work it out. Forward, it will always consider the forward one. But if you start reversing, like if you hit the reverser here, you'll notice that it basically shows you the state of that switch. And if you press that button, it operates that one. And if you go back to using the forward on the reverser, it's operating that one. You may think to yourself, that doesn't sound terribly useful, but trust me, it really is useful. I underestimated this thing at the start when I started playing this game. I underestimated it completely. In this kind of weather, when you're traveling along 40 miles an hour and you cannot see the switch, you're going around a corner, there's bushes and rocks in the way, you cannot see the switch. And, you know, we all make mistakes. We all set things incorrectly here. And this thing just goes beep when it detects it. And you can set a switch up to, what, 300 meters away. Fantastically useful. Now, guys, we've fit some equipment to our DH4. We've got a switch setter, we've got a brake indicator, and we've got a digital speedometer. That is all we're going to fit to our locomotive today. Sadly, we've run out of time in this video, so I'm going to have to stop this one here. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to take this, maybe another DH4, and get a job out of here, and we'll show the real power of this thing. And this is where we're going to start to earn some serious money. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Take care. Happy training.